Look, I've just got to revisit this video.
Listen, James, have you ever had those friends who had bad roommates? Never thought big self-aware enough that they're the bad roommate. They're the problem. Hey, James, you're the problem.
Now, I'm sure we've all seen this video. Me, I've seen it many, many times. I mean, this man, he just continues to rip James Harden. It just never gets old, especially with that incredible music in the background. But that's not why I'm revisiting this video. You see, the Clippers, they've been playing pretty well recently. They've been 9-2 in their last 11 games, although they just got completely demolished by the Boston Celtics and they lost their last 2. But despite that, they're currently 5th in the West, so they're doing pretty good after their horrendous start from the James Harden trade. So I just wanted to see, has this take completely aged like milk? Because on the surface, it might seem like that, especially when you combine the fact that Brian Damaris, who is the commentator you saw in that video that just keeps on blasting James Harden, he apparently didn't show up for the latest Clippers-Mavs game. Now, if you don't know, the Clippers actually ended up winning that game without Paul George, which is honestly quite shocking. It just shows you the potential that they could have. But one thing that was circling all around Twitter after that story came to light was, is Brian Damaris ducking James Harden? Now, on the surface, it might seem like Damaris is ducking James Harden. But if you weren't following this story before, you probably didn't know that Damaris actually apologized after saying that. He said something along the lines of, "There's enough tearing us apart in this world for me to be adding to it. I don't want to be that person and I will be better. I am sorry." But I've got to say, if you look at just the content Damaris is saying, I don't think there's anything that wrong with it. Now, obviously, the way he said it was definitely a bit harsh, although it definitely was straightforward and to the point. But you got to take this as more of a warning rather than saying that James Harden is just trash at basketball and he'll never win a championship. Because that's not really what he's saying. If you listen to what he's saying, he's essentially warning James Harden that if he doesn't get his act together, he might go out like AI did. Or he might have to take a sabbatical like Melo did. But one thing has been clear these last 11 games, which is that James Harden is getting better and better each game he plays with the Clippers. But how has he turned around the Clippers, and how have the Clippers actually turned around? Now, James Harden, his last 11 games, he's averaging near a double-double. He's averaging 19 points and 9 assists, which is certainly really, really good. And the Clippers, as I previously mentioned, are 5th in the West. But it's more than just numbers that show that the Clippers are playing better and Harden is playing better. I think people just had to be a bit more patient with James Harden. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be playing amazing. He's clearly past his prime and he's nowhere near the same player that he used to be. But those viral shots of him just throwing passes to announcers of all things like Ian Eagle, he threw that hilarious pass just completely out of New York. And then those viral step back threes where he just completely forgetting to take an open catch and shoot shot because he has zero comfortability actually taking catch and shoot shots. And he does a step back three for absolutely no reason, and it's heavily contested. I think that was stuff that's going to continue to get better and better as he becomes more comfortable playing with the Clippers. But there's one thing that you can't really forget about, and is by far the most important thing with this turnaround. And it all starts with Russell Westbrook being benched. Now, this story is just so juicy. There's so many details that if you looked past the headlines, you probably wouldn't figure out. But there's just a lot more to the story than meets the eye. Now, for one thing, there's this entire controversy about, did Russell Westbrook really volunteer to be benched? Now, most of the reports by the national media pundits, and I would say by a lot of the media, is that Russ apparently volunteered to be benched. But there are some other smaller reports, I would say they're not really reports, more so like rumors, that said that this is actually just all a PR stunt done by the Clippers in order to maintain Russell Westbrook's image. Now, whether you believe that's true or not is kind of irrelevant to the point. What's really irrelevant here is, why did the Clippers actually think that playing James Harden and Russell Westbrook in the same backcourt would actually work? I mean, seriously, I don't think a single player or fan in the NBA actually thinks that would work. Yet an organization with a championship winning coach, and I'm sure a bunch of good staff members, thought that they actually could make this work. But that's not even the funny part, because we saw this backcourt duo before on 2 different teams. On the Rockets, it completely failed. Now, obviously, they still made it to the playoffs. They did some good things, but the truth is, it just doesn't fit. And in OKC, it wasn't really a backcourt duo because Harden was coming off the bench. So, obviously, that's going to be a bit different. Their minutes are going to be more staggered, so it's going to work out. But at the end of the day, everyone knows both these players need the ball, and both of them aren't really great catch and shoot players or off the ball players. So, it's just a matter of time before one or the other we're going to have to take the hit and go to the bench. Now, after all of that analysis about this trade, there's only one more thing I have to say. I'm not a system player. I'm the system.
You know, I'm not a system player. I am a system.